And Lee, you yourself competed as an intercollegiate athlete in the early 1980s for Cleveland State. And now you've had a career in the business. How has it changed from your perspective over these years?
I think it has become much more of a business, much more sophisticated. I think the services that, from an NCAA standpoint, that are provided to today's student athlete, maybe too many services in some cases, as Nora mentioned. But I think the services that are provided to a student athlete today are much greater than they were back in the early 80s. And these things sort of go in cycles, and we're very, very heavily regulated today, and that's because as the years go by, things happen and we try to react to them. But there's so many things, from academic progress toward degree requirements, initial eligibility just to get in school requirements, continuing eligibility. All of those things have changed. Even today we have real-time data on how our student athletes are doing academically, and then how that impacts our success rate from a graduation standpoint. So each school, by semester, we can determine where we are in that long-term graduation rate, and so we're held accountable to that, and we can make adjustments as we move forward. So from that standpoint, it's just much more sophisticated. I think kids today are spending a lot more time than I was in my sport. As John mentioned, I'm from that same generation where in high school you played a lot of different sports, you were good in one, so you took that path to college. But it wasn't year-round like it is today. Our coaches with our student athletes are year-round. They're here in the summer working on, obviously going to school, but we're working on their craft. They start, if they're a spring sport, they start in the fall on getting ready for the spring. So it's really year-round in terms of their preparation for their sport, and that has really changed. In fact, right now, we are looking at, from an NCAA standpoint, whether we've gone too far that way, and I personally think we have. I think there are those elite athletes that want to follow their craft and do it year-round, and I think that's okay, but I think it's been over-legislated to require a lot of our student athletes to have, there's points in time where you need a break. Your body just physically needs a break, and they really don't have that time to do that and be students. The good news is, here, I think we allow that. I think in the majority of our sports, we have that balance that's necessary, and I think our student athletes are able to, in their off-season or non-traditional season, I think they are able to be students and really be integrated into the university. But overall, I think it's just been much more sophistication in terms of how we manage. Most of it good, because from a student-athlete welfare issue, again, our mission is really to try to provide our student-athletes with the best, absolute best, and balanced experience that they can have.
Thank you. Thank you. We've got some questions now from our alumni, and I may help a little bit in responding to some of these, because I think it may be more appropriate for me, too. The first question is, how is personal fitness in all Georgetown students encouraged, and where does our intramural program fit? And just to give you a little bit of a sense of the architecture of fitness, intramural athletics and intercollegiate athletics, we do differentiate between those three different kinds of activity. And the Yates Fieldhouse provides a home for the first two. So if you get a chance on the campus visit to go up to Yates, while it's 31 years old, it's a treasure. Just like all the furniture is a treasure. But if you had a chance, for example, we had a little snow this winter. The first roadways that get clear are the roadways up to Yates. And I had the chance during the snowstorms to walk around the campus to see how everybody was doing. The library was full, the cafeteria was full, Yates was full. And its first purpose is for health and fitness for our student body. But we also use it as the venue for intramural athletics. We have an enormous variety of intramural programs that are available to all of our students. And we have 750 intercollegiate student athletes. And we throw these numbers around, and John mentioned the distinctiveness of the Georgetown program. There's no Big East program that offers more intercollegiate athletic experience than Georgetown does. We offer 29 different intercollegiate teams. So across that spectrum, what we try to do is provide that opportunity for health and fitness for those who competed well at the high school level, but just really aren't Division I intercollegiate athletes. And then we have the 750 who compete in intercollegiate athletics. But perhaps Nora or Lee might want to offer just a thought regarding the way in which all this stuff fits together here in the university community.
Well, actually, you spoke about how intramural sports offers a spot for someone to play who's not necessarily up to the collegiate level. There are a number of girls who have been on my team who have decided that it's just a little too much for them and that it's just a little too hard, like Coach Thompson was talking about. And they've played intramural and loved it, and it's been a much better experience for them. So I think it's nice. It offers both levels, I think.
Great, great.
Lee, no, I would just say it seems to me that here the student athletes are very active. The fields are full all the time. We have lights, and every time I come to campus, there's somebody somewhere in a physical activity, whether it's running, whether it's playing on the field, softball, those kinds of things. So I know we have a significant number of club sports, which is a more organized. Intramurals is run by the university, but the club sports are much more organized and a little bit more competitive in spirit. We have club sports, intramurals. I think there are a lot of different ways for all students to be active and engaged from an athletic standpoint.
I'm proud to say I was captain of my intramural basketball team. The only time we could get time on the court was like 6, 7, 8 a.m. and the name of our team was the Serial Killers.
How'd you do?
I scored.
All right, all right. Some questions about the academic performance of our student athletes, and both John about basketball, but overall. And what I would say to you all about that is our Georgetown has been an exemplary program over the course of more than 2 generations now. And at the present time, as it has been for these last roughly 40 years, we graduate our athletes at the same rate that we graduate everybody else, which is in the mid-90s in terms of our graduation rates. And over the course of the last roughly 40 years in intercollegiate men's basketball, our graduation rate has been among the most admired in the country. John's father, I think the numbers were 85 of 87 or somewhere in that range.
And I should know that exactly, but I think my assistants know this answer better than I do. Over the last X amount of years, I think we've had 104 out of 107 seniors graduate. And what you're going to read about graduation rates, and you may not see, I don't know what number you see. There are many different ways to calculate graduation rates. Many of the formulas that are publicized, they take transfers into account. And so you look at it, and since every player that's played for me for 4 years has graduated. But it's not going to say 100%, because if Jeremiah Rivers decides to transfer to Indiana 2 years ago, they mark that as if he did not graduate. Even though he's going to go to Indiana, he's going to graduate from Indiana. And so if you see numbers that are lower than 90s, it's just because of how certain entities calculate your graduation rate. But across the board, our student athletes graduate.